made your little shoes, we're going to get to the point now where we're going to be making a little box for the shoes. I mean, obviously you don't have to, but you might fancy making one. What they look like is this. So we've got the little box. I made a label for the front of mine. Don't know if you can see that there, little label. And then the shoes are tucked inside with some nice tissue paper in there. So there they are, tucked inside their little shoe box. So if you've got the pattern, you'll see on one of the pages on the PDF there's this, and this is what your shoebox pattern will look like. So you'll print it out and cut out your pattern. Now with the shoes you didn't have to be too precise, you can get away with a bit of wiggle room, but with the shoe pattern you do have to be pretty precise or else it doesn't quite fit. So I've got one here that I've already cut out, so you see these, okay, and what I've got, what I'm going to make mine out of, if I can see where I've put them, I've cut these pictures out of a plant magazine, so you can see they're basically on one side, they're just the other side of the magazine, and so they're quite flexible, but once you make the box it will be quite flimsy, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be using to make my little shoe box out of. So what I'll do, I'll make the base first, and so what I do is I lay this, I put one edge up to one edge and one edge up to the other side there, and then you're just going to use a normal pen and you're just going to draw around the whole pattern, and it'll be quite good if you can be quite precise. You might notice on this edge I'm just putting a little line, because when you come to cut it out it's difficult to see that that is actually at a bit of an angle. So we just take our time, draw around the whole pattern. You might be able to hear a bit of guitar playing in the background. That's because my neighbour is playing guitar in the garden because it's a sunny day. So you might actually be able to hear that from time to time. It's not a problem. Okay, so that's the first one drawn around, and you'll notice there's lines on your pattern. You're going to have to use those lines to score all the folds on your pattern. It makes it much easier if they're scored. So now what we're going to do is cut out your pattern, and try if you can to be quite precise with this. I also have to mention that we've got people on the scaffolding outside the house, and basically you might hear them walking up and down on the scaffolding occasionally. I just heard them then, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. So those little bits where the line should be are there and there, and here and here, just so that we can tell where they are. Okay, so carry on cutting out the pattern. My advice when you're cutting out would be get a smaller pair of scissors than I've got here. These are my Moomin scissors. They were a present from my son for Christmas and I love them. But what would probably be better is a smaller pair of scissors that are very pointy, so that you can get right into those little corners that you need to get into. So there's one of those lines that I said to add, and here, I mean, you can use, on the first few boxes that I made, I think I used, in this one for instance, I used fancy double-sided papers. So in there you can see on the inside of the box, it's got a nice pattern as well. So you could buy some nice papers to make the shoes, but I just thought I would use what's around. I'm a great believer in reusing and upcycling and repurposing, so it's always good to do that, I think. And the boxes look really nice when they're made out of these nice flowery pieces of paper. So what we're going to do now, get rid of these bits of rubbish if I can. Let's move this light a bit closer. Okay, so we've got rid of the rubbish. So now what we're going to do on the back, I use a ruler for my scoring. So I've got one ruler that I do for lining up where the line should be, and then I use this ruler because it's got quite a nice nice edge for scoring with. Okay, so basically we're going to use this ruler to line up where we want the score to be. So I've got it lined up, and you've got to be quite precise with this. I just moved it then, hold it in place and score it a few times. I quite like using the edge of this ruler because it's not going to cut through, it is just going to score. So this is where those lines that I said to add are quite useful, so you can just use that too. And there you'll see that once you've done that, they're quite easy to fold where you want them to be. So keep going, do all of the other scoring. There's quite a lot, as you can see. There's quite a lot of scoring to do. So I'm just going to carry on and do those. Try and be precise if you can with your scoring. So that's those done. There's some here. We can go across here. You can also, if you want to, I didn't mention this, you can also have it in front of you so that you can see exactly where your scoring needs to go. Use it as a bit of a reference. And then there's another one here. And then the same on the other side. If you're using a bit of magazine, it's sometimes a bit tricky to see where you're meant to be scoring. And then another one here. Okay. Done that one, done that one. Done that one, done that one. So I think I'm done now with my scoring. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start folding where the scores are. I'm going to fold out first and then I'm going to fold it in. Okay, so fold it to the inside first and then fold it out. You can do it either way actually, just discovered. So out and then in, and this one too. And then you're going to fold this. Now this one just needs a little cut just to make it I hadn't quite cut it as far as it should have been. Just up to the score line. So let's fold it back, give it a press, and then in, and then back, and then in. So this bit is a little bit tedious, but it's really good if you do this first before you start sticking it. You may already have tools from doing paperwork or whatever before, and you'll have stuff there to make your scoring a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is glue the flaps down just using this paper glue. So what I'm going to do, because when we fold these in, these are going to fold in, and these flaps here, the pointy flaps, are going to go inside. So we're going to glue them on the outside of the flap. So a quick little dab of glue on those 4 flaps, and then fold those little pointy ones in and fold the other one up to it. And then I just hold them in place for a moment so that they are just in the right place. So I'm just holding them in place just to give the glue a second to work. Might be a little bit difficult to see. Okay, so we've got the first 2 stuck in place. Actually, I'm going to rejig that one. So 1 and 2. And then once you've held it for a few seconds, you do the next one. Might just put a little bit more glue on that one because I didn't use very much. And you can use any glue, you can use paper glue or whatever. On one of the boxes I think I used double-sided tape, which worked really well. So then again, just going to hold that in place for a few seconds, just until it's stuck. Doesn't take too long. There we go. And now what we're going to do, we're going to glue these flaps here. So it's going to be difficult to see because I'm at the wrong angle, but you're going to put glue on these little flaps that are sticking up. Oh, just pulled it off. And then the same on the other flaps. Glue all 4. And just tuck them inside. Like that. And there's the base of your box ready to put your shoes in. Looks very cute. So we'll put that to one side. I'm going to put the lid back on my glue because I don't want it to dry out. And so now you're going to do the lid. So you're going to do exactly the same thing. I've got my piece of paper here that I've printed out that I want to make it out of. So on the other side, I'll do it that way, no, this way. Okay, I'm going to level it up, draw around, again, if you're drawing around the pattern, and the cutting out of the pattern, you've got to be quite precise or else it won't fit properly. And you know, it doesn't really matter. I think if you're making shoes for a tiny toy, they're not going to mind. So here we go, that's it drawn around. So now I'm going to cut it out, same as before. Oh, there's the rumbling of somebody on the scaffolding. Perhaps I should have waited for another day to do filming when my neighbour isn't playing guitar and the guys aren't up on the scaffolding. I think we can all cope though, can't we? I've had a bit of feedback on a couple of my videos about my accent, because obviously I'm from the UK and I think my accent is what might be known as a little bit common. People sometimes think it's a kind of a London accent, but I've never lived in London, so. Okay, there's the pattern piece cut out, so it's ready to be scored like we did for the other one. And again, you can do the same again and use the pattern to see where you're going to be doing the scoring. Put that pen to one side. So line up nice and precise. And score the lines where you want to do your folding. Even though I've made these quite a few times, I still do sometimes forget where the scoring is, so I do actually use the pattern to see where I'm going to be scoring, even though I've made them a number of times. Okay, a bit hard to see in this light where I've done. Okay. Oh, we've just got a bit of respite from guitar playing, I just noticed there. Okay, have I done all? Yes, yes. No, I haven't done this one. Here we go. And this bit here. Okay, so again, we're going to fold these. One, two, and these sides. So again, that just needs a little snip just to get right in that corner. Occasionally, where you've drawn around it, it doesn't quite go far enough into the to where the scoring is. So yeah, that's that one. that one. This one. Okay, so I folded all of these so that they're going to fold in properly. So again, we're going to glue the outside of these 4 little pointy bits. I'm going to stick some fat glue on there. Like I say, you can use this sort of glue, you can use any paper glue, you could use double-sided tape. Sometimes people get those little glue dots, they work quite well. So fold them in. There's one. Now fold the other side up. Hold them in place for a few seconds. Just give it a chance to hold. And then fold in the other side. You may have your own way of doing all this bit, that's fine. If you know of a different way that suits you better, do it that way. I'm just showing you how I do it. Just again, hold it in place. It needs to be a few seconds. Okay, now glue these 4 flaps. I'm going to try and turn it a little bit so that you can see, maybe. 1. This one's being a bit trickier for some reason. Fold it in. Next one. Fold it in. Next one. Fold it in. So now we've got a lid. Oh, that was not sticking down properly. For our box. And hopefully it will fit. There we go. And then with mine, you can put a label on as well if you want. This is just the name of my Etsy shop, Fruit Juice, spelt differently. But I think it's quite nice if you take a look at that. I think it's quite nice to put a little picture of a sandal, and I've put a set of those in with the pattern that I've made as well, so you can print those out as well if you like. Obviously you can make your own. So what I did was shoebox. I don't even know if they still do this anymore, I don't really buy shoes, but I had a bit of tissue paper in them, and so what I did, I used this tissue paper that is an old sewing pattern, and that says skirt there. I just like, as I said before, I like to reuse if I can. So tuck that one in, put your other shoe in, put your lid on, and you've got your box. for your little shoes. Hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed making the shoes. Thanks very much. Be really nice if you wanted to subscribe and like the video. Thanks.